we have some breaking news in the UFC. Paramount buys the UFC media coverage rights for the next 7 years in a $7.7 billion deal. This is $1.1 billion a year. The agreement is for all 43 annual UFC live events, which will be exclusively streamed in the US on Paramount Plus, which means in the beginning of 2026, we will no longer be using ESPN Plus to watch the UFC. The new Paramount deal will eliminate the pay-per-view model used by ESPN in its current deal with the UFC, making all events available for no extra charge on Paramount Plus. This is a huge deal for us fans. I don't know about the fighters, but for us casuals or the hardcore fans, this is an amazing deal. Instead of paying the $9.99 ESPN Plus subscription a month, then paying the $79.99 pay-per-view card every single month. So you're spending roughly $95 a month just to watch the UFC fights. Now, if you live in the United States, you will only have to pay $12.99 a month on Paramount Plus to watch every single UFC fight. That is amazing. That is 30 fight night events in the whole year and 13 marquee events. This is huge. This is huge. Now, instead of us complaining about a crappy pay-per-view card, and wasting $80 on, now we can be like, well, it was only $12.99 out of the entire month. That's not that bad, Although the UFC should still work hard with this $7.7 billion that they just got and give us the fights we want to see. Give us Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Give us John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. If you're given $7.7 billion, I don't know, chuck 20, 30 million, 40 million to John Jones to fight Tom Aspinall. Okay? Nonetheless, the UFC has finally entered into the premium live events. They have now entered into the area where they could be bigger than the NBA. They could be bigger than the MLB and hopefully compete in the near future with soccer or the NFL in the United States, right? I doubt they will, because you'll never be able to beat the live viewers or even TV viewers for NFL football in the United States. It's just not possible, right? 200 million TVs a year in the United States are watching the Super Bowl, right? So you're not going to be able to beat that. But the UFC has a chance right here to gain a lot of new fans, to start touring around the country again, start touring the world, start holding better press conferences, start holding better promos for the fighters. If you're given this great of a deal where now people are going to be illegally streaming it less, not as many people are going to go to Stream East now that you only have to pay $12.99 a month to watch every single UFC card, right? I'm not going to illegally stream a fight if I only have to pay $12 for it, right? That's like this card this weekend, UFC 319. $12.99 for Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP, amazing. Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal, amazing. MVP versus Jared Cannonier, amazing. Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico, amazing. This is perfect. $12.99, that's perfect. However, for the fighters in the UFC, I don't think they're getting a single penny out of this deal, which is terrible, right? In 7 years, they're getting $7.7 billion. The UFC is, TKO is. And the UFC fighters, to my knowledge, what I've read so far, they're not getting anything out of this, not a cut or anything, which tells me either they are going to increase their pay, their overall fight purse pay, or we could potentially see the UFC slowly give their fighters their own sponsors, maybe allow them to wear their own shorts and kind of get away from sponsors that the UFC is putting on, because now it's on Paramount Plus to promote the sponsors, right? Maybe they do that with a cage or let the fighters do it themselves, but Paramount Plus has to earn money somehow. If they're not earning money from the pay-per-view model, now they have to earn it through sponsorship. And let's say Paramount Plus, they gave the UFC $7.7 billion. They can now tell the fighters, hey, here's the sponsors that they can wear, or here's the sponsors that we're going to give them. Let's see if we can make money that way. So then you have the UFC fighters, trying to promote Paramount sponsors through them, in that situation. I don't even know if that makes sense, but in my head, that makes sense. It might not make sense. Anyway, for the fighters, I don't think this is a wonderful deal, but for us fans, if you're a fighter in the UFC, you got to look at it like this. Although I'm not getting a cut out of $7.7 billion, which is kind of crazy, maybe more people will watch the UFC. Maybe now Paramount Plus will actually show and post a knockout on their Instagram or on, YouTube or whatever, without having to deal with it getting blocked. Like ESPN wanting to block every single knockout that you post right after it happens. Whatever. Another thing that's great about this deal, for those who watch my channel who know who I am, you know that I hate ESPN Plus. I've hated it for years. Every time I buy a pay-per-view event, it feels like it always lags. And at UFC 315, when Bilal Muhammad fought Jack Della Maddalena, I was watching the pay-per-view card, and it crashed multiple times. And when I called ESPN the next day to tell them, hey, I want my refund, they said, no, we can't refund you your money because we looked at the data analytics, and we saw that you watched 30% of the stream, and we're not allowed to refund you. Which then means, okay, we're going to play that game? Oh, you're never getting my $10.99 back now. I'm unsubscribing. Once January 1st hits and we're watching UFC on Paramount, I will never use ESPN Plus again. So that's a big plus. My personal beef, my little problem I got with ESPN. But another great thing about this deal that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is that now that Paramount is not using the pay-per-view model, it's just the monthly subscription model, we could potentially see fights or the marquee events starting before 10 p.m. because they don't have to rely on people paying for the pay-per-view. You don't have to rely on people getting home at a certain time to pay for it, so we don't have to start it later anymore. We could potentially see the marquee events, the numbered events, or the fight nights starting at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. for the main card. We don't have to wait till 10 p.m. anymore because, well, people earlier in the day, we don't have to wait on them anymore. Now it's like, well, if you can't watch it at this time, you can't watch it at this time. People on the East Coast or in London, right? I don't want to stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to watch a pay-per-view card anymore. Start it at 7 p.m. We don't have to rely on people buying or paying the pay-per-view model. We don't have to wait on that no more. Now it's a monthly subscription, so we should be able to start these fights earlier now, which would be amazing. It's 30 fight night events and 13 marquee events. You can't at least do half of them starting at 7 p.m., the main card, and then the rest at 10 p.m. That's fine. But overall, this is a great deal for the UFC. I'm really excited that I will no longer have to use the ESPN subscription anymore. For those who watch this channel, I hate ESPN so much, and I think that Paramount will be good for the UFC. I think they have a good interface, and I think $12.99 a month for a fan or a casual or someone who doesn't even watch the UFC but just has that subscription, the fact that you're getting every single UFC event, every marquee event for $12.99 a month, that is a steal. For the fighters, you're losing out on getting possibly something out of that $7.7 billion. That stinks, but, maybe they'll get you something. Maybe you'll get paid more. Maybe they'll increase the win bonus to $100,000. Maybe they'll get rid of the win bonus and actually give you what you deserve. I don't know. I don't know what the UFC is thinking, but this is a big deal for the UFC, big deal for us fans, and I'm just so happy to not have to use ESPN anymore. I hate ESPN so much. I am so happy we don't have to use that anymore, but that is my thoughts on the UFC and the Paramount deal. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video.